Last time on Realm of the Gods, no country for clownmen, Lasius. Well, he heads off to the cobbler's cottage and, yeah, the cobbler is doing even worse than before. He's doing so poorly, in fact, that he actually throws up popcorn. Lasius, not missing a beat, calls upon his apprentice Damos, and together they whip up another excellent shoe. Damos gets sent back to the sweatshop to perfect his craft. Definitely etherical, by the way. Lasius then returns through the portal and finds out that Ringo got a text on his phone from Ognir saying there's a new update. After going to call Ognir like a total weirdo, Ringo catches himself and just texts back instead, getting the location to meet up. Ringo, Briathar, Serenity and Lasius all head to the base of operations of Loki and Ognir, which is, buzzing with teams working on high-tech computers, analyzing possible ways to intervene. So, they start reviewing the recent intel collected from Thor's office. Threat number one is, obviously, Fudfud. He's basically the favorite to win the competition, especially among the other singers, but unfortunately, nobody's figured out a solid countermeasure to stop him yet. Next up, the Thunderstruck Lightning Elementals. They're bringing some serious competition to the dances with an electrifying routine. The good news is there's a way to blot out their light. If the gang can get their hands on liquid darkness from the realm of darkness, they might be able to put a damper on the elementals' presentation. That said, everyone is warned about the wraiths that guard the pools where the liquid darkness can be found. Finally, Ognir brings up a profile of Clowno the Clown. Taken aback, Ringo exclaims, "Clowno? What happened to Clowny the Clown?" Ognir replies, all solemn, "Oh, you didn't hear," and hands over the obituary of Clowny the Clown. Apparently, Clowny died in a tragic banana peel accident at the young age of 68, just 1 year shy of the age all clowns aspire to reach. Pulling themselves together, Ognir keeps going, showing Clowno's profile and explaining that he gets his powers from his rubber chicken. Honestly, it's obvious because Clowno looks absolutely terrifying. Ognir plays a clip of Clowno's act. Ringo doesn't find it funny at all. Briathar laughs a bit, but Lasius thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever seen and is just rolling on the ground. As the gang thinks gathering the liquid darkness will be a quick job and that there's still no solution for Fudfud, they decide to see if they can snatch the rubber chicken away from Clowno. They're given directions to his last known location. The gang travels through the woods until they reach a really sketchy-looking cabin in the middle of nowhere, with clown shoes by the entrance. They deliberate on what to do, and after peeking through the windows, Ringo comes up with a plan. He tells Lasius to take the knife he bought from the traveling sales krakens and see if he can upsell it to Clowno. Lasius and Serenity walk up to the front door and knock loudly. "Hey, want to buy the best knife of your life? Of course you do." The door creaks open a bit and Lasius continues. "All right, that looks like a definite yes. I'm just going to let myself in." Lasius heads into the cabin with Serenity following, and the door closes behind them. Ringo and Briathar peek through the windows again, but find that the two have mysteriously disappeared. Briathar, being Briathar, busts through the window, but there's no sign of them inside. The two figure that maybe you have to go through the front door to end up wherever Lasius and Serenity went. And in classic Briathar fashion, instead of just leaving through the front door or the already broken window, he smashes through another window to get out. Ringo and Briathar enter through the front door, and sure enough, their theory is right. Inside, they find Serenity and Lasius on the floor, laughing in front of what looks like Clowno the Clown himself. Briathar runs up and kicks him right in the jewels, making a squeaking sound. But the figure of Clowno doesn't move an inch. They realize it's actually a statue. Briathar whips out his canonical pocket hose and sprays the two, but it doesn't do anything. He figures the statue must be radiating a spell, so he grabs one of the mirrors around it and manages to direct the humor magic into the ground. After catching her breath, Serenity creates a giant turnip in the ground to absorb the magic. Serenity then smacks Lasius, and finally coming to his senses, Lasius says that so far he's having a great time. The gang then spots a carousel that almost seems to beckon them over, and it looks like something wild is about to happen. On it, there are steeds that seem just perfect for each party member. Lasius hops on a blue unicorn with a green mane. Serenity sees a turnip and jumps right on Ringo, of course, gets inside a Gundam. Bryatha, seeing everyone else having a blast, reaches into his pocket to pull out a cowboy hat, but instead he pulls out a live squid hat. He just shrugs it off, spots a Lovecraftian monster and starts heading over to it. Suddenly his squid hat slaps him in the face and points to a squid with a saddle. Bryatha sighs and climbs onto the squid. Now that everyone's in place, the carousel starts moving, first slowly, but then it really picks up speed. Rocks start flying everywhere as the merry-go-round turns into a tilt-a-whirl, burrowing into the ground at a wild pace. Lasius manages to kick a rock that was about to hit Bryatha into another rock, and Ringo uses his Gundam's defense systems to deflect projectiles. Finally, the not-so-merry-go-round comes to a stop. Everyone is super dizzy, and Serenity pukes up a turnip. Lasius honestly is just having the time of his life and thinks coming here was absolutely the best decision. So, the gang is greeted by a hall of mirrors and they decide to keep going down the path. Ringo tries to bring the Gundam into the halls, but it just falls apart, honestly, just like it was Ulduar all over again. Then the gang starts seeing these absolutely terrifying reflections, like the worst things they could possibly imagine. Serenity is forced to relive the murder of her father at the hands of the Watermelon Man. Lasius, well, he sees himself eating a masterwork shoe, just like he was Fud or something. Bryatha, though, he gets probably the most horrific image of all. He sees himself happily working a 9-to-5 job and, get this, doing his taxes in an orderly fashion. Silent tears roll down his petrified face as his reflection just casually picks up the phone and schedules a doctor's appointment. Bryatha, unable to take it anymore, smashes the glass in front of him with his fist. Somehow the gang manages to escape the room, but now with this new burning sense of fury. Lasius, at this point, is just completely done and is definitely not having a good time after witnessing all those horrors. The gang walks through the exit and wouldn't you know it, they end up in a room with another cabin that looks exactly like the one they originally entered through. Finally, they might get some answers to all these mysteries. Who is Clowno? What's his deal? Can he even be reasoned with? But no, the gang decides to just burn down the cabin instead. After a bunch of tries to break a neon sign with a stick, they finally manage to spark a fire and jam the door and windows. As the flames start to engulf the cabin and you can hear the muffled screams of Clowno, Bryatha reaches into his pocket hoping for a marshmallow for s'mores, but nope. He pulls out an ice cream cone and tries to cook it at the end of a stick. When the fire clears, all that's left is Clowno's rubber chicken sitting on a pedestal with a pressure pad underneath. Ringo does his best Indiana Jones impression and swaps the chicken for a stone that's about the same weight. The moment the chicken is removed, it suddenly comes to life and yells, "Unhand me!" The chicken tries to bargain with the party, and honestly, it's pretty clear it's got its own ambitions. While the party thinks the chicken might be useful for Ringo's act, they've got a real dilemma. If anyone sees them with the rubber chicken, people will know they murdered Clowno, if only there was a way to hide it. Then Lasius snaps his fingers and calls for Damos. "Hey Damos, this right here is the chicken of strength. If you eat it, you'll become stronger." Damos, who never turns down a shot at more power, starts reaching for the chicken. The chicken panics and says, "Surely you're not serious?" "No, please, oh Shoshi." And just like that, Damos gulps down the rubber chicken of strength. Ringo gives Damos a test smack in the gut, and Lasius just loses it and starts laughing uncontrollably. Now that Clowno's out of the picture, the gang tries to figure out what to do about Fud, and they meet back up with Horus. Since Fud can't resist eating a shoe, the gang decides they could add some poison spiders to mess him up so they can throw the shoe on stage during the act. Luckily, Bryatha knows exactly who to talk to, Aphrodite at the Den of Desires. When they arrive, Horus just blurts out, "Hey Aphrodite, we need your eggs!" Bryatha pushes him aside and asks for a room with poisonous spiders, and Lasius just throws in, "and a merry-go-round." Aphrodite, a little confused but honestly not fazed, agrees. Lasius manages to build a shoe using parts of the room, and he even makes the inside porcelain so the spiders can't escape. The gang then heads back to the Library of Knowledge to do some more research for the next day's competition. The session wraps up with Horus admitting, "I'm kinda scared of you guys." The party just laughs it off and Horus keeps going, "I'm serious, remember that sack guy? That was messed up." So, will the gang manage to completely rig the competition? Will Fudfud be, defeat Ted? And seriously, what lovable mascot will the gang murder next? Oh, and what the heck was Nolene doing this whole time? Find out next time on Realm of the Gods No Country for Clown Men.